The late afternoon sun cast long shadows across the parking lot of Roadside Rest, a small family restaurant just off Highway 40. The scent of grilled burgers and fresh fries drifted through the open windows, mixing with the warm summer air. Inside, families occupied most of the booths, the gentle hum of conversation and clinking silverware creating a peaceful atmosphere. It was the kind of place where nothing unexpected ever happened, where life moved at a predictable, comfortable pace. Until the engines arrived. The rumble started as a distant thunder, growing louder with each passing second until the very walls seemed to vibrate with the force of it. Conversation stopped mid-sentence. Forks paused halfway to mouths. Every head in the restaurant turned toward the windows as 8 massive motorcycles pulled into the parking lot, their chrome gleaming under the fading sunlight. The riders dismounted with practiced ease, their black leather vests adorned with patches and insignia that needed no explanation. Hell's Angels. If you believe that redemption is possible, that the past doesn't define us, and that family can be found in the most unexpected places, then pause for a moment. Like, comment, share, and subscribe to Bike Diaries, and tell us in the comments below, where are you watching from today? Because this story will remind you that people are more than what they appear to be. The bikers moved toward the restaurant entrance with a confidence that came from years on the road. They were an imposing sight, weathered faces framed by beards and long hair, arms covered in elaborate tattoos, boots heavy on the pavement. The leader was a man in his late 50s, tall and broad-shouldered, with silver streaking through his black hair, and a face that had seen more miles than most people could imagine. His name was Connor Ghost Riley, and the patch on his vest marked him as president of the Desert Riders chapter. Inside the restaurant, the atmosphere shifted dramatically. The easy chatter died away, replaced by an uncomfortable silence. Parents instinctively pulled their children closer. A young couple near the window quickly looked down at their plates. The hostess, a woman in her 40s named Linda, gripped her menus a little tighter, her professional smile wavering slightly. But there was one person who didn't share the room's apprehension. A little boy, no more than 7 years old, sat in a corner booth with his grandmother. His name was Tyler Chen, and he had the kind of fearless curiosity that only children possess. While everyone else watched the bikers with varying degrees of fear and suspicion, Tyler's eyes lit up with pure fascination. The Hells Angels settled into 2 large booths near the back of the restaurant. They moved with a deliberate calm, their presence filling the space without a word spoken. Ghost took his seat facing the entrance, his sharp eyes scanning the room once before settling into a relaxed posture. The other bikers followed his lead, their leather creaking as they got comfortable. Linda approached their table with visible nervousness, her hands trembling slightly as she handed out menus. "Welcome to Roadside Rest," she managed, her voice professional despite the anxiety clear on her face. "Can I start you gentlemen off with something to drink?" Ghost looked up at her, and his expression softened. "Coffee black," he said, his voice surprisingly gentle. "And whatever pie you've got that's fresh, we've been riding for 6 hours straight." The other bikers placed similar orders, their voices polite, their demeanor far less threatening than their appearance suggested. As Linda hurried away to fill their orders, the tension in the restaurant remained thick, but it had shifted slightly. These men weren't causing trouble. They were just tired travelers looking for a meal. That's when Tyler made his move. Before his grandmother could stop him, the little boy slid out of the booth and walked directly toward the table where Ghost sat. His grandmother, Mrs. Chen, reached out with a gasp of alarm, but Tyler was too quick, too determined. She half rose from her seat, panic flooding her face. Tyler walked right up to Ghost's table, his small frame barely reaching the edge. The other bikers noticed him immediately, their conversation stopping as they watched this fearless child approach. Ghost turned his head, his piercing gaze landing on the boy. For a moment, the entire restaurant held its breath. Tyler looked up at Ghost with bright, curious eyes, completely unfazed by the intimidating presence before him. Then, with the innocent boldness only a child could possess, he spoke. "Hello, sir," Tyler said clearly, his voice carrying in the silent restaurant. "My mother has a tattoo just like yours." The words hung in the air like a bomb waiting to explode. Ghost's expression froze, his eyes narrowing as he looked down at the child. The other bikers went completely still, their attention laser-focused on the exchange. Mrs. Chen covered her mouth with her hand, her face going pale. The entire restaurant seemed to stop breathing. Ghost slowly set down his coffee cup, which Linda had just delivered. His gaze moved from Tyler's innocent face to his own exposed forearm, where an intricate tattoo was clearly visible. It was a design specific to his chapter, a flaming phoenix rising from chains, with detailed shading and specific symbols woven into the feathers. It wasn't the official Hell's Angels death head, but it was distinctive, meaningful, and not something you'd see on a casual ink enthusiast. "Just like mine?" Ghost repeated slowly, his voice low and controlled. His eyes, sharp as broken glass, studied the boy with an intensity that would have made grown men uncomfortable. But Tyler just nodded enthusiastically. "Yes, sir. She has a bird with fire and chains on her shoulder. She showed me once when I asked about it. She said it was from a long time ago, before I was born." The atmosphere in the restaurant shifted from tense to absolutely electric. Ghost's jaw tightened almost imperceptibly. One of the other bikers, a massive man with a shaved head and a scar across his cheek, leaned forward, his eyes locked on Tyler. Another biker, younger with a long beard, exchanged a meaningful glance with Ghost. Mrs. Chen finally found her voice. "Tyler!" she called out, her tone sharp with panic. "Come back here right now! I'm so sorry, sirs! He doesn't understand!" Ghost raised one hand, a simple gesture that silenced her immediately. His attention remained fixed on Tyler. "What's your mother's name, son?" Tyler beamed, happy to answer. "Her name is Lisa Chen. Well, it used to be Lisa Martinez before she married my dad, but they're not together anymore." If the restaurant had been quiet before, it was a tomb now. Ghost's face, which had been merely serious, went completely still. Something flickered behind his eyes, a flash of recognition, of memory, of something profound and painful. The massive biker with the scar sat back heavily in his seat, muttering something under his breath. The younger one with the beard slowly shook his head, a strange smile playing at his lips. "Lisa Martinez," Ghost repeated, and there was something in his voice now, something that hadn't been there before. Not anger, but shock. Deep, bone-rattling shock. He looked at Tyler with new eyes, really seeing him now, studying his features, his face, the shape of his eyes. "And where is your mother now?" Ghost asked, his voice carefully controlled. "She's at work," Tyler said simply. "She works at the hospital. She's a nurse. Grandma takes care of me after school until Mom gets home." He pointed back at Mrs. Chen, who looked like she might faint. Ghost was quiet for a long moment. The other bikers remained frozen, watching their president, waiting for his lead. Finally, Ghost gestured to the empty space beside him in the booth. "Why don't you sit down for a minute, Tyler? I'd like to hear more about this tattoo." Mrs. Chen started to object, but something in Ghost's expression stopped her. It wasn't threatening. It was something else entirely, something that looked almost like vulnerability. Tyler climbed up into the booth with the fearlessness of a child who didn't yet understand danger. He sat next to Ghost, his little legs swinging above the floor. "It's really pretty," Tyler continued. "Mom doesn't show it very much. She keeps it covered for work. But I saw it once when she was getting ready, and I asked her about it." "And what did she tell you?" Ghost asked, his voice softer now. "She said it was from when she was young and wild, before she became a mom. She said she used to ride motorcycles with friends who became her family. She called them her brothers and sisters of the road." Tyler looked up at Ghost with innocent admiration. "Are you one of those brothers?" The question hit like a physical blow. Ghost's weathered face showed genuine emotion for the first time, a crack in the tough exterior. He looked away briefly, his jaw working as he processed something deeply personal. When he looked back at Tyler, his eyes were different, warmer somehow, but also filled with an old pain. "Maybe I was," Ghost said quietly. "A long time ago. Tell me, Tyler, does your mom ever talk about those days? Does she mention anyone named Connor? Or maybe Ghost?" Tyler scrunched up his face, thinking hard. "I don't think so. She doesn't really talk about it much. Grandma says Mom had a different life before she settled down. Grandma didn't approve, but Mom says those years made her who she is." Ghost nodded slowly, as if confirming something to himself. He reached into his vest pocket and pulled out his phone. "Tyler, I'm going to ask you something, and you can say no if you want. Would it be okay if I called your mom? I think she and I might have some catching up to do." Before Tyler could answer, Mrs. Chen was at the table, her face tight with protective concern. "I don't think that's appropriate," she said firmly, though her voice shook slightly. "Tyler, come back to our table now." Ghost looked up at her, and for the first time since entering the restaurant, he smiled. It transformed his face completely, revealing the man beneath the intimidating exterior. "Mrs. Chen, I understand your concern. I know what we look like. I know what people think when they see us. But I promise you, I mean no harm to your grandson or your daughter. If Lisa Martinez is who I think she is, then she and I knew each other many years ago. We rode together. We were family." "Family?" Mrs. Chen's voice was sharp with disbelief and old resentment. "You people were the reason my daughter nearly threw her life away. She ran with your kind for 2 years, came home covered in tattoos, angry at the world. It took her years to straighten herself out, to become the responsible woman she is now." Ghost's expression didn't change, but something sad entered his eyes. "I know. And you're right to be angry. The life we lead isn't for everyone. Lisa left because she wanted something different, something better. We respected that choice. But Mrs. Chen, if Lisa never told you, let me tell you now. Your daughter saved 3 lives during her time with us. She pulled a burning man from a wrecked motorcycle. She talked a desperate brother out of ending his own life. And she donated bone marrow to a member's daughter who would have died without it. Lisa Martinez was one of the finest people I've ever known." The restaurant remained silent, every patron now openly watching the exchange. Mrs. Chen's expression wavered, shock replacing her defensive anger. If this story is touching your heart, please hit that like button and share this video. Subscribe to Bike Diaries so we can keep bringing you stories that prove people are more complex and beautiful than we often realize. Ghost pulled out a business card and placed it on the table. "This is my number. I would very much like to speak with Lisa, if she's willing. But I'll leave that choice to her. Tyler, it was an honor meeting you. You're a brave kid." Tyler grinned. "Will you tell me stories about when my mom rode motorcycles?" "If she says it's okay, I'll tell you all about it," Ghost promised. He looked at Mrs. Chen. "We'll finish our meal and be on our way. We don't want to cause any trouble." Mrs. Chen picked up the business card with trembling fingers, staring at it as if it might explode. Then she took Tyler's hand and led him back to their booth. The little boy waved at Ghost, who waved back with a genuine smile. The bikers finished their meal in relative quiet, though the atmosphere in the restaurant had changed completely. The fear had dissipated, replaced by curiosity and even a strange respect. When they stood to leave, Ghost left a $100 bill on the table, far more than their modest meal cost. As they filed out, Ghost paused at Mrs. Chen's booth. "Tell Lisa that Ghost says the phoenix rises from the ashes. She'll know what it means." Then he and his brothers walked out into the fading sunlight, their boots heavy on the floor, their presence no longer threatening but somehow noble. That evening, when Lisa Chen came home from her shift at the hospital, exhausted and ready to collapse, her mother met her at the door with an expression Lisa had never seen before. A mixture of shock, confusion, and something that might have been understanding. "Mom, what's wrong?" Lisa asked immediately. Mrs. Chen handed her the business card. "A man named Ghost came to the restaurant today. Tyler walked right up to him and told him you have the same tattoo." Lisa's face went completely white. Her hand flew to her shoulder, where beneath her scrubs, the phoenix tattoo lay hidden. "Ghost was here? Connor was here?" Her voice was barely a whisper. "He wants you to call him. He said to tell you the phoenix rises from the ashes." Mrs. Chen paused, her expression softening. "Lisa, he told me things about what you did when you were with them. Things you never told me." Lisa sank into a chair, the business card trembling in her hands. Tears filled her eyes. "I couldn't tell you, Mom. I knew you'd never understand. But those people, they saved me when I was broken. They gave me a family when I felt like I had nothing. Yes, it was dangerous. Yes, I did things I'm not proud of. But I also found myself there. I found my strength." "Why did you leave?" her mother asked quietly. Lisa looked down at the card, running her thumb over the embossed number. "Because Ghost told me to. He saw that I wanted something different. A normal life, a family, stability. He said I deserved more than the road could give me. So he made me promise to leave, to build the life I really wanted. It was the hardest thing I ever did, walking away from them. They were my brothers and sisters." Tyler came, running into the room. "Mom, did Grandma tell you? I met your biker friends. Well, one of them. Ghost. He was so cool. He said you were family." Lisa pulled her son into her arms, holding him tight as tears streamed down her face. "Yeah, baby, they were family. They still are." That night, after Tyler was asleep, Lisa sat in her kitchen with her phone in her hand, staring at Ghost's number. 15 years had passed since she'd left the Desert Riders chapter. 15 years since she'd traded her leather vest for scrubs, her motorcycle for a minivan, the open road for a stable job, and a mortgage. She'd built a good life, a respectable life. She'd become the woman her mother had always wanted her to be. But that tattoo on her shoulder, the phoenix rising from chains, that was a reminder of who she'd been, who, in some ways, she still was. She dialed the number. It rang twice before a familiar voice answered. "This is Ghost." "The phoenix remembers," Lisa said softly, her voice thick with emotion. "Even after the ashes have scattered." There was a long pause, then Ghost's voice, rough with feeling. "Firebird, I can't believe it's really you." ChatGPT said. They talked for hours that night, sharing memories of the past, the roads they'd traveled, the loved ones lost, and the lives they'd built. Lisa's life as a nurse and mother, and Ghost's life as a biker, had taken them on different paths, but they shared regrets, choices, and a deep connection. A week later, Ghost and 2 brothers came to dinner. Mrs. Chen, nervous but softened by the men's stories, watched as they made Lisa laugh until she cried. Tyler, wide-eyed, heard of a mother he never knew, fearless, wild, and brave. A woman who wasn't just a nurse, but a legend in her own right. Ghost pulled out an old photo of Lisa, young and carefree, on a motorcycle with a grin that spoke of freedom. "You were one of us," Ghost said. "Always will be." Before leaving, Ghost crouched down to Tyler. "Your mom's one of the bravest. She lived with honor, and when she needed change, she had the courage to make it. Remember that." As the bikers rode off, Lisa stood on her porch with Tyler and her mother, feeling whole for the first time in years. She had buried Firebird to be the respectable nurse and mother, but she was both, Lisa and Firebird, the road and the home. Mrs. Chen, finally understanding, apologized softly. "I see now, they were your family." Lisa squeezed her hand. "And so are you. I'm lucky to have both." If this story reminded you that our past shapes us but doesn't define us, like and share this video. Tell us in the comments. Have you ever reconnected with someone from your past? How did it change you? Sometimes healing comes from the most unexpected places. A tattoo isn't just ink. It's a reminder of who we were, who we are, and who we might become. Thank you for watching. Share this with someone who needs to remember their past is part of their strength, not their shame.